Welcome to another episode of our conversation on Giants in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. I'm Megan, and joining me for this series is the bright and twinkling Casey.
This episode is going to focus on the 4 Giants of D&D 5th edition that come from space, kind of.
Maybe, perhaps.
These are the Giants that were published in the controversial Spelljammer box set.
Honestly, I didn't even realize that Spelljammer was a thing until I started reading into these.
Yeah, Adam told me like a while ago about it. He's like, I have them.
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
Here, read these things. I'm like, yeah, there's giants in here. Let's talk about those. All right, well, giants from space may seem a little nuts at first, but when you think about the tripods from the War of the Worlds, the power-up enemies from the most recent Power Rangers movie, like the Celestials from Marvel, not to mention the Galactus,
Yeah.
And over half of the kaiju monsters we've gotten in movies, there's actually quite a bit of a precedent to have, alien monsters, right?
Fair.
I mean, the Iron Giant was technically a construct, and that's another great example of how a large scope synergizes nicely with the cosmic adventures, right?
Nice.
So, before we get started, I want to ask a question. Out of all of the giants that we discussed in the summer, which one do you think is the most fun as a spacefaring crew of giants?
Oh my
Which
God.
one would do well in space, do you think?
None of them.
None of them. They would all die. They would all hate it. Well, because if you think about the giants, they're all like scavengers. They're hunters.
Yeah, they'd be like, we're confined to this?
To this small space in this spaceship. I mean, they do get to travel to different worlds. But, I don't know. I would like to say the hill giant would be the most, that would probably survive the most, because they would probably be the lackeys of some other type of crew. The crew of the crew that are just, doing the mundane remedial jobs, and then when they land on a new planet, they're the ones that they send out there to see if they die.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
Yeah.
They would be like the fodder.
Or ice giants, because it's cold out there. That was the only other thing that I could think of.
Yeah.
By ice, I mean frost giants, obviously. But
yes, I knew what you meant. Yeah. They would have, the constitution specific for that. Yeah. Yeah, that's a tough one. Oh, gee.
Yeah. Oh, I was trying to, because I think of storm giants, they would be like, no, this is stupid. I can't rule a kingdom from here.
Yeah. Stone giants would just be sad because there's not a damn stone on, a ship.
To be seen.
And, they might try and battle some sort of, well, maybe fire giants, because there might be some, no, you just said it was ice, mostly.
Yeah. I would say frost is the only one, because then that means they can, go out and, pillage villages from other planets. I feel like that's a thing that they would want to do. Fire giants are like, no, I need a forge. Why are you taking me away from my home forge and putting me in a plane that I can't do anything in, and I might end up on a planet where there's no forge or there's no fire.
Yeah,
right?
The worst.
So I think the only ones that I think that would survive is either just your plain hill giant or your frost giant.
Fair.
Those are my 2.
Well played. I'm grasping, so let's go with that.
I got nothing, Megan. I got nothing to say about these. All right, well then let's get right into it. Actually, before we do, we have a wine. Casey, do you want to tell us?
Wine.
What do we have?
Course.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. So perusing the aisles for something that goes with Spelljammer and space giants, we have space cats.
Yeah.
From France. So, France, thanks France for making this Grenache Rouge. It is called, I'm sorry, those of you that actually speak French.
And speak wine speak.
Felicette. That sounded more Italian than anything.
You really tried with the Italian.
It was the first cat to travel into space. Felicette is dedicated to those who travel that bit further, those who dream, and adventurous souls.
I love it. Very thematic for today's conversation on space giants.
Yeah.
Crack that sucker open.
We nailed it today, I think.
I think so. I think the fact that it's represented by a cat as well is just extra awesome.
Yeah. There might be some furry rodents that we talk about today, so.
Furry rodents. All right, man. Well, cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah, it tastes like a red wine.
Yeah.
Not bad. How pricey was that one?
Not that bad. It was on sale. I think around $20.
Phenomenal. That's about our regular price point.
Yeah, that's where we're going with.
Phenomenal. All right, well, I'm going to start. I'm going to talk about the Braxat from the booze Astral Menagerie. So to start, these dudes look so fucking badass. If you look at the art, you'll know what I kind of mean. But in the meantime, let me try and describe it for you. Let me give you a visual.
I love a good description.
So they're considered huge, giant, neutral evil creatures. They kind of look like those dinosaurs that have the maul in the base of the tail. Like, what are they called? Ankylosaurus, I think is what they're called.
Oh my god, well done.
Thank you. I'm gonna have to Google that later. Someone can come at me in the comments. But like, that's the one that I'm thinking of. With that like has the maul. It doesn't have a maul in the back of its tail, but it's like scaled that way.
Cool.
Kind of like an armored armadillo, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Their head is covered in horns, and they have a big murder mittens that carry a great club. In 5th edition, they only hunt alone or in pairs within dry canyons or desolate wastelands. So I feel like that's where the armadillo look comes from.
Yeah.
They've almost got like a shell to them, like an exoskeleton. But yeah, they look creepy.
Creepy as fuck.
Yeah. So very alien-esque, but they look very armored. In previous editions, they were actually thought to be traveling in packs called warbands. But like in 5th edition, they're actually thought to just travel around on their own or in pairs at most. They're also written in other editions to be absolute brutes that believe in strength is the end-all be-all, and they would fight anyone or anything that got in their way and enjoy killing their prey like slowly.
Oh, nice.
So like torturous and all that kind of stuff. None of this is really written in the 5th edition stat block specifically, but their stats kind of reflect that kind of attitude and minutia for them, right? So let me get into that. So their intelligence is +1 and their wisdom is their intelligence is +2 and their wisdom is +1, which does mean that they are slightly above average when it comes to their intelligence capabilities. And the intelligence actually comes from the fact that they can actually do psychological magic abilities.
Ooh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. I'll get into that too, but let me break it down. So along with their wisdom and intelligence, they have a strength of +8 and a constitution of +6. So clearly built to be a fighter and are a solid CR of 9.
Yeah.
So pretty tough to fight. Tough brutes. They are immune to acid, psychic damage, and being charmed or frightened.
Right.
And then due to their intelligence, they can speak common and giant. So I know that we've talked a lot in our previous episodes where we found it fun that a lot of giants can only speak giant, which would be very frustrating when you come up to one. Because of these guys' intelligence, they actually understand the common language. So you would be able to communicate with them, which I find actually weirdly frightening because they do not look friendly. And then for them to be able to speak at you would be even more frightening.
Right. And probably you would naturally not even bother trying with this one if you saw it.
Oh no, if I saw this, I would run.
Yeah.
I'd be like, fuck that. I'm not fighting an armored, spiked armadillo. Fuck that.
And then the barbarian will go in and try and hack at it, and it will probably just laugh.
You're not wrong. So they're also immune to acid and psychic damage, and against being charmed or frightened. They also have what's called Intellect Fortress, which means they add their intelligence mod to their AC, which brings it up to a natural 18.
Ooh, yeah.
So unarmored, just their own natural armor, then plus adding in their intelligence mod, it's an 18. So I'm already they're pretty beefed up, which is frightening as fuck.
Yeah, hard to hit.
Right? They can also do multi-attack with their great club, which deals mass damage at a close range, or they have an acid breath weapon for a 30-foot cone for distance damage.
Okay, I think that's a first. Have we ever had a spewing acid?
No.
There's
not a lot of things in this, there are things in the D&D world that spew acid, but not that we've talked about within giants and stuff like that.
That's
not a lot of the giants we talked about had magical capabilities, other than the special ones like the quintessent and those other big ones that we talk about, or they're specific to their element kind of thing. Where I feel like these ones are kind of a weird mishmash of I come from the desert, but I'm going to spew acid in your face.
Yeah.
So I think that is very alien to me kind of thing. And it gets worse. So they also are spellcasters for psionic spells. So they have 2 spells, which is compulsion and fear, which basically means they can make you do things and they can make you afraid of them.
Okay.
They also have a psionic shield. So 3 times per day, if they are hit with an attack roll or a magic missile specifically, they can put up a magical barrier that lasts until the end of its next turn. It gives the Braxat a +5 to its AC and prevents magic missile from damaging it, period.
Yeah. So it's like a glorified, no, not glorified. It's like a fancy shield spell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But very specific to attack rolls and magic missile.
Yeah.
So a magic missile, which is supposed to hit.
Yeah.
Right? It won't hit these.
That will be so frustrating for spellcasters. And
Could you imagine?
Fine, I'll hit you with magic missile. And then it's like, oh, wait a sec.
You actually can't.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Whoa, okay. That makes it...
Yeah.
You really have to think about this before you throw this at your party. Your party really has to fuck up to have this roll onto the battlefield.
Well, there's so many different, like, again, there's so many different directions you can go with their combat strategy capabilities.
Yeah.
Right? So speaking of that, out of the things that I listed for their, like, battle capabilities, they have their ability to use their great, what was it? What did I say? A great club. They have an acid breath attack. They have psionic spells they can use. And then they have this magical barrier. Out of those 4 things, what's one that, like, speaks out to you for combat? What would you want to use against your team and your party?
Okay, so anytime anything's carrying a big weapon, I think a party is naturally going to think it only does melee. Unless it's a giant and, like, a typically looking giant, and you know the rocks will be involved.
Fair enough.
As they do. So I would say you're going to have them getting into close range because they think, okay, well, it only is going to have this club.
Yeah.
And the, like, breath weapon, basically.
Kelsa Breeze!
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like you love a good acid breath weapon.
Yeah. And when, as a DM, when you go to grab, like, the AoE effect of the cone, it's like, how far away are you? That's always the worst.
Yeah, where are you at? Like, what's happening?
Yeah. You said you were 25 feet away? Okay.
Sure you are.
Yeah. Totally. Gotta use that.
Yeah. I love the psionic spells that they can use.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I love the fact that they can make the barbarian afraid of them so it runs away and then it uses its breath weapon against it.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And then I love the fact that, like, with compulsion, I'm just going to quickly look it up so I can make sure that I get it right here. Hold on here.
Yeah, that one doesn't come up very often. Yeah. And it's usually, like, high level, like, I don't know, wizards or liches or something that try and do that.
Well, it's a 4th level spell.
Yeah.
And it is 1 action, concentration spell, all that good stuff. But yeah, basically a creature of your choice that you see within range that can hear you must make a wisdom save. Otherwise it is charmed. And charm basically means that you can basically tell it what to do.
Right.
Yeah, so until the spell ends, you can use a bonus action on each of your turns to designate a direction that is horizontal to you, kind of that kind of thing. So again, it moves people around the battlefield into position. You can only move people into one spot and then use your breath weapon against them.
Yeah, totally. And how far is the cone?
The cone itself?
Yeah. Does it have a distance on how far it goes?
This sucker is a 30 foot.
Yeah.
Yeah, ranging 30 feet.
That sucks.
Yeah. No, it's, yeah. So I feel like there's a lot of really good combat things you can use these ones, and it would be surprising, because they would think they're just coming up to, like, an armadillo golem or something, and then you're going to throw magic spells at it.
Yeah. Yeah, it will be a shock and super fun. And they probably will think, like, okay, we just have to hack away at this thing because it looks armored and beefy.
Yeah.
But that's not even going to work.
No. Because it's got a super strong AC. So, again, it's a CR of 9, so you're not going up with these in Tier 1, obviously. But, like, it's going to be a tough battle, especially if you do run up across a pair of them. Mm-hmm. So that's when I'm talking about, like, so now if we're going to talk about exploration, like, where you would find them, again, they're in deserts or in caverns or in canyons, like that kind of feel. So I feel like, you know how, like, in our last campaign, we were, like, running around a desert? Mm-hmm. I feel like this is where we would have run into one. Yeah.
Like, along some cliffs, you pick your spot to, like, make camp for the night, and then there's just, like, a little, like, cove around the corner into the mountain that just comes strolling out of.
Yeah, and I feel like you would find their footprints, because they look heavy and they look beefy.
Right.
So I feel like if, like, the wind hasn't been blowing for a while, like, you would find their footprints in the sand or in the rocks or in the stones, or you would see, like, drag marks from their giant fucking maul mace that they've been dragging around for forever, right?
Yeah.
So, and, like, again, I feel like it's a good random encounter. That it's like, do we fight this thing or do we try and sneak away from it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. For role-playing aspects for these ones, again, they're intelligent creatures. I feel like you would definitely want to play into that as a DM, in the fact that, like, you're probably battle smart. You've probably seen a couple of parties of adventurers before as one of these, and you would kind of know how to navigate around them. And, like, they can be described as hunters. So it's almost like if you were to role play one, I would scare the shit out of them by speaking at them in Giant. Letting them talk to you and, like, trying to figure out that they can't speak Giant. And then all of a sudden be like, okay, but by the way, I can speak English. So what do you want? What do you want? You know? I feel like there would be a sense of, like, arrogance and intelligence about them.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, they would even... be guarding some bridge or something across a deep cavern.
Yeah.
And just, like, fucks with them that way.
This is my home, bitches.
Yeah, like, pay the toll to pass.
All right, well, we're talking about giants, not trolls, but yeah.
Right. I digress.
Wait a minute. They do look very troll-esque, though, if you look at them. So, but yeah.
Yeah, cool. I hadn't heard of these. They sound terrifying and really fun to play with and dangerous.
Yeah, like as I mentioned at the beginning, like I hadn't read a lot of what was in the booze book. And now that I have, there's a lot of really cool things in there that, like, as weird as they are, would be so much fun to put into a campaign. I think we're just scratching the surface right now, so.
Yeah, and especially, like, with, like, veteran players who have seen a lot, like the Dans of the world, that Adam goes to describe something, and in, like, the first sentence, he's like,
oh, I know what that is. And we're all like, shut up, Dan.
It's like, I don't know what it is. I'm never going to know what it is. So I see the photo or the miniature.
We're all just here for a good time.
Yes. So these might be some things that stump the players.
Shall we say?
Yeah.
All right. What do you got?
All right. The next one. I've got Brog.
Brog?
Terrifying.
Brog.
I mean, I thought it was terrifying until you talked about Braxat.
You're welcome. Yeah.
So it's your classic, like, giant in imagery, in the loincloth, as they do. 15 feet tall, so I was, in the moment, I'm like, I feel like that's like a hill giant. I checked, hill giants are 16, so yes, around the same as a hill giant. So they don't tower like the elite giants. A little more comparable to that, but they are still huge in size.
Still considered huge, yeah.
Yeah. They are bald on the top, but have long, scraggly hair and skin that's like that orangey glow that is like a bit too much, like somebody who's been addicted to a tanning bed, where it's like, oh.
Love that.
Yeah.
All I can think is Final Destination, where the girl died in, like, the tanning bed. Like...
Oh, yeah. But Final Destination comes up so much. It
really does. I feel like it's just the trauma of our generation is everything that happens in those movies.
It is.
Yeah.
Yes. Thanks for that. Now I'm able to remember that horrifying scene.
You're welcome.
Okay. They have generally, like, a flat face, but pointed ears. So that is kind of an interesting characteristic that we've never really talked about ears.
Yeah. Because, like, yeah, I've heard it look at we get the idea of what their ears look like from the art, and I'm like, yeah, it looks like a giant's ear.
Yeah.
You know?
Like just a lumbering, more like humanoid style.
Yeah.
Like,
ear
or
hole.
human style ear. But yeah, pointed ears. And I guess the most defining characteristic that they have is 4 arms.
Well, fuck, Casey. Why don't you lead?
Yeah.
You really buried the lead on that one, that they have 4 fucking arms.
Yeah. So, given 4 arms, they are the primary weapon as well. Like, they don't carry any other type of melee weapon. They have 4 arms.
Yeah.
And they prefer to hurl rocks or grab onto their foes and their targets and just rip them apart. So, this one you will want to run up to because it doesn't have any, like, clear weapon. But, yeah, it's going to do some damage.
I'm sorry, I'm looking up a reference that I have in my brain now. Goro from Mortal Kombat is all I can think in my head right now.
Oh.
So, anybody who's a Mortal Kombat fan, I feel like that is what this is.
Probably.
Goro's like a 4. I'm going to show you a picture of this. Is Goro.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Very much that? Okay.
Yeah, here's the image.
Oh, fuck yeah, it's
Goro. Like exactly that. There you go.
Inspiration given.
All right, so Brogs, they prefer to be isolated and just exist on their own, do what they want. But despite that, based on their like an open alignment, it's any alignment is what these creatures can be.
That's neat.
Yeah, which we don't see. Like their open alignment, kind of simple and humble in nature. They just want to do what they're doing. Don't bother people. Just hermit.
Hermiter, yeah.
Yeah. It makes it pretty easy to bring them into a campaign in a lot of different scenarios. They can potentially be convinced to interact with a party with like an act of kindness towards it.
Mm-hmm.
And they will actually try to return the favor. So like if you go out and you come across one, say it's caught somewhere or it's like stuck somewhere and you help it,
Mm-hmm.
it is going to be like, it's like the unspoken, like, thank you, like, I will help you in some way.
I owe you my life now. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so don't expect it to be a lifelong thing, but they will then like return the favor. Lots of times, unfortunately, they are also found in like battle arenas because they have forearms, so they can be kind of put into slavery and forced to fight.
Big scary brutes, yeah.
Yeah, and so they may say, yes, I'll go do battle because somebody promised them food or something else that they actually wanted to have.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just, they can be influenced as well, which is kind of unfortunate.
Yeah.
They can also, if for returning a favor or if you do have some sort of mutual agreement with them, they could be used for encumbrance, like carrying equipment. I imagine they could even be like convinced to work, say, on your farm.
I was going to say farm or like on your, if you're in a pirate campaign on your ships.
Yeah.
Right, pulling the ropes and pulling the sails and stuff like that.
Right?
Yeah.
So if like you're giving them something back, like, they have their own like space, they can actually help you out quite a bit.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, and remember, like, looks scary, but any alignment, so you can play it how you want to play it. This is actually the first time this creature's come up. It's not really in any other editions.
It's only in the booze in like 5th edition?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah, apparently it's new.
Awesome.
Yeah, so we have the classic natural armor for this one, AC of 14. So we kind of always go between, I think, 12 and 15, depending on
depending on their squishiness. Yeah.
And they don't have the highest, pool of hit points. They're just below 100. Mm-hmm. So maybe a little bit more squishy. Definitely more squishy than Braxat.
Yeah.
And so not necessarily hard to kill, but it may not be aggressive towards you either.
Yeah. Because it could just be neutral and be like, yeah, man, what's up?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm just having flat, like, Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't know the guy's name. Where he's like, hello.
The rock guy.
Yes!
I just watched it the other day. Hold on, let me look it up.
That just came into my mind. It's like that, where you expect the unexpected when you actually interact with them.
Korg.
Yes.
Yeah. Hello. Good day.
Totally. You could do it you could play it that way. That would be really funny.
I love it. Oh.
But there's problems with that. I'll get to it. Okay, so speed of 40 feet.
Shit.
So at the classic, they can move faster than you.
Long stride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Their highest stats are strength and con still, and they're pretty high at +5 for each.
Yeah.
But that's their strength.
Yeah.
And they do not speak a language.
Oh, shit.
So this is where maybe there'll be problems with trying to convince them So they use hand signals or grunts to communicate with each other. They would naturally try and do that with, like, anything they're interacting with.
I would love if they were, like, the starters of ASL in, like, the D&D world.
I thought of that!
Yeah. And just, like, they're the ones that, like, start the language. And then, like, your crew is like, this is fucking awesome. Teach me how you do this. And then your team starts... Like, don't get me wrong, there's thieves can't already.
Yes.
But, like, that's very specific to one group of folk.
Yeah.
I feel like this is going to be, like, your actual classic, like, you can speak ASL to each other.
Yeah.
Which I think would be really cool.
Yes, and they have 4 arms. So,
Oh my god, can you imagine doing ASL with 4 arms? You'd be talking so fucking fast.
Yes. So, they're like, very exciting. I like a... kind of a refreshing angle for a brute.
Yeah.
To have those kind of unique things. Because inevitably, if somebody speaks giant, they're going to be like, yeah, and they'll try it, and there'll be no response.
They're literally going to give them the middle finger and be like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah. So they are a CR of 6. So you could throw this in a little bit sooner if you want. And yeah, there's lots of scenarios. If you do get on their bad side, though, they have multi-attack. Shocking.
I wouldn't believe it.
It's 1 for each arm.
Holy fuck. So 4 attacks from this bitch?
Yes.
Fucking shit.
4 attacks and 10 foot reach.
Holy fuck. This is CR6?
Yes.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so it would be bad. And they can, alternatively, they can make 2 ranged attacks with rocks.
Of course.
As a multi-attack.
Yeah. Do you think that with their forearms, both would be right-handed? Like, if you're right-handed, do you think you're not ambidextrous, but you can throw with your 2 right hands?
Yes.
Yeah.
I imagine, winding up both on one side.
One side,
and then just a big, catapult heave. Totally. One unique trait they also have is Hideous Rend.
Mm-hmm. Sounds great.
Yeah. This is when it uses all 4 hands to target a single creature that's within 10 feet of it. It can be a large or smaller in size to do this. Yeah. Not a huge. The target must succeed on a DC 16 dex save or be grappled.
Oh, love that.
Yeah. So grapple, inconvenient. Megan, grapple.
It's my favorite thing. Yeah, absolutely.
So annoying, but grappled, you can still do a bunch of things usually while grappled. Except when all 4 of its arms are otherwise occupied, it can't make any attacks against you. Great. Or anyone else. Mm-hmm. But it then squeezes the target to death. As in, the target has to make that save, or it will take 8d10 plus 5 bludgeoning damage at the start of each turn.
No fucking way.
So you essentially have 1 chance, your turn, you need to try to escape that grapple. Because if you think, lots of people think, well, being grappled, I can still, melee attack. I just can't move.
No, you're going to want to try to escape this.
No, this is bad. This is bad. So if the target HP is reduced to 0, which, at CR6, I would give you 2 rounds, maybe. If you're, the barbarian.
Yeah.
It will rip you into 4 pieces. 4 arms, 4 pieces.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. So imagine all those horrifying scenes that you've seen in those Roman and Greek movies.
Okay, so this is Goro from Mortal Kombat. This is the finishing move for sure. Holy fuck, that's
good. Just wild, considering it has no alignment. You can, try to communicate, but it will be hard. But they're not just, mean and scary and will come at you. But if they do,
you're so
screwed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I was just shocked on that.
Oh man. So out of all those combat items, would the squeezing to death be your favorite one?
Yeah, it's a favorite, except I would play this guy as kind of the benefit of the doubt guy.
Yeah.
And so the party would have to really mess up for me to go there.
Yeah.
But I would love to see them try.
Oh, I would love to have it being you go to an arena to watch some kind of a combat battle of some kind, right? And the first thing you see when you walk through the doors is this thing ripping something into 4 different pieces.
Yeah.
And that's the first thing you see when you walk through.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And then all of a sudden it's the barbarian who's going to be a part of the sweat is oh fuck. I might have a problem. Because we played a campaign where we walked into a coliseum.
Yep.
And there was people battling for their lives, right?
Yep.
But they were battling like gargantuan things, not just basic things, and that's why we were scared.
Yeah.
But I can imagine just walking into a regular, just for your human entertainment arena, walking in and seeing these things and seeing multiple of them in there.
Yes.
Would be so fucking frightening.
Yeah. So frightening. Yeah. And then if you go into the back area where they keep all of the gladiators and the fighters and then it's sitting against the wall eating a chunk of meat off a boat or something. It's oh hello.
Yeah, it's having lunch, it's what's up my guy.
And it's just covered in blood and it's
just another day at work. I don't know what's your problem
such spin. You could do so dark but lighten it, or just throw it in a whole different scenario.
Right? I can also imagine that if you're in the Colosseum scenario and you end up in battle, if you helped it, let's say it was trapped by something or something was fighting it, and you stepped in and saved them, You now have a buddy in the call. Like, you, like, as a DM, you would have to roleplay that, and the fact that, like, this man has now helped me, I owe him a life now. So then you're going to go, like, as the DM, your job is now to save them once, because that's the, like, equal exchange of offers.
Yes.
Right?
Love that. And the fact that they don't speak a language. I think a DM, you have to then really force the role playing for interaction with whichever player it's interacting with.
Yeah.
And just try and like get that player to understand what's happening.
Figure their shit out.
Yeah.
Man, those are really awesome.
Yeah.
I really want to use those.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even just in, like, the Coliseum scenario. Like, I feel like because they're so generic and unaligned, you would see them anywhere. Like we have previously discussed, you would see them on ships pulling sails. You would see them on docks lifting, like, heavy things.
Like,
and, like
4 barrels, like a barrel under each arm onto a ship.
Working in the bar, moving the barrels of wine around. You know what I mean? Like, you're just going to see them all over town. Like, just working and operating, right?
Yeah.
So, no, I love them. I think they're very generic enough that they're usable, but, like, frightening enough that, like, if you needed to use them to scare your party, you could.
Yeah.
Good balance.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Cool.
All right, well, I'm going to move on to something completely fucking different.
Of course. This is quite the episode.
Well, they're very, like, again, these are, like, alien creatures from space, so I feel like you're going to get a good array of items in this episode, so you're welcome, everybody. I'm going to talk about the Mercanes. And I'm going to pronounce it that way because technically they are merchants of all things magic items and wares. So I'm thinking merchant, Mercanes.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Thank you. But because space, they also sell technology. So they sell and buy and move things around, like, and they go from planet to planet, just, like, basically put up their pop-up stand and, like, selling their shits and their wares, right? And the thing is, they look really elegant and rich. Like, they stand only 12 feet tall, so they're not the tallest of the giants we've spoken about. But they wear long robes and hold their heads up high, literally with an elongated neck and really long fingertips and, like, long feet. Like, everything is very long and elegant. They also have, like, really blue, pale skin. So, again, I feel like they look very bougie. Yeah. They basically literally look like they're turning their nose up at you. You know, that's kind of the vibe I get from them. And as I mentioned, they basically travel around on spelljamming ships and go from world to world selling their wares. In 5th edition, they travel around alone or with bodyguards. It is actually quite rare to see them in packs or in groups. They are happy to conduct business with just about anyone, except those that have slighted other Mercanes in the past. So Mercanes can actually connect with each other through telepathy and are happy to let each other know who is dangerous and who is not.
Cool. So
they basically make make and keep their own hit list of people that are good and people that are bad. But bear in mind that if you piss one off, it is near impossible to get into its good books again, because it's basically now told every other merchant in the space that you're blacklisted. So you're fucked.
Ooh.
So you'll never get your magical items, you'll never get your shit. Like, it's going to be like a long-standing... you're going to have to find that original, like, like Mercane and be like, hey, man, like, I'm sorry that I offended you. Like, whatever, right?
Yeah. This is so fun, because normally this is just a humanoid, whatever kind of, like, creature. Yeah. You're not going to get any sort of monster or giant-like creature. Yeah. So this is cool. I like it.
They're really neat. But let's look at some stats. So these tall blue skin versions of elegance are considered large giants that are lawful neutral. They tend to be uncaring. In my mind, much like Spock would be. Very emotionless. So they speak to you as, like, you know, like you're a person. They don't have any emotions, which is what I feel like could, like, lead to issues, is because you come across as emotionless. Your bard is going to want to see some kind of excitement out of you, and then they're just going to piss you off, right? They are very average at everything, but bolstered in intelligence and strength. They do have saving throws in intelligence, wisdom, and charisma, so they would be very hard to fool. So your bard is not going to be able to swindle things from them. Right. So they're skilled in insight, perception, and persuasion, so let's be real, they are going to be able to swindle you. Cool. That's how I feel about it anyways. Mm-hmm. For languages, they're pretty stacked. They speak Common, Giant, and as discussed, they have telepathy. So the regular telepathy is actually 60 feet, so it can actually speak to you in your brain if it wants to. But it can communicate with other Mercanes no matter how far away they are. Like across galaxies. Wow. With their telepathy. That's how connected they are with each other. But they could talk to you in your brain if you're 60 feet away. They can also multi-attack with their psi-imbued blade, which is actually like a +6 to hit, and it deals an average of 10 damage. But it also has the ability to make you have to succeed on a wisdom saving throw to not be frightened of them. So if you attack them, I imagine their immediate response would be to attack you back with their side blade, so you run away from them.
Right.
You're not frightened of it, right? They do have some psionic they are psionic spellcasters, much like the previous one I spoke about. So they can cast Detect Magic and Light, which in my mind really kind of fits into their whole, like, they collect magical items. Obviously, they're going to be able to detect if something's magical, right?
Yeah, and they'll probably want to borrow you for it.
Exactly, 100%. They're going to see that fucking magical ancestral sword and be like, you want a map of the galaxy? I see what you have there. Can I have this nice, real nice number here? Yeah. They can also once per day use Dimension Door, Invisibility, and Mage Armor. But the Mage Armor can only be used on itself. You can't use it on anything else. So I feel like, again, these spells do scream merchant or swindler, shall we say. Because, like, if they're trying to escape, they're going to go invisible. And they're going to run away.
Yeah.
They're going to use their Mage Armor if you're going to start attacking it. And it's going to be like, oh, fuck up. It beefs up its Mage Armor, and then it goes invisible, and then it Dimension Doors out.
Totally.
Like, peace out. Right?
Yeah.
So with Dimension Door, I believe you could bring someone with you at certain levels.
Yes.
So I can imagine even if it has a bodyguard, it would be like, all right, peace out. Grabs this bodyguard, and they fuck off.
Yeah.
Right?
And it's like hundreds of feet Dimension Door.
Yeah.
So
I think
it's like won't find it.
It's like 500 feet or something like that, isn't it? Like, they could just be like, oh, I'm going back to my ship. Bye!
Ooh.
Okay, bye!
So good. This is so clever.
And very different from what we've talked about over, like, the course of, like, again, even our summer episodes into, like, our winter episodes. We've talked about a couple of very different things. This one, to me, screams extremely different. Because, yes, it is a giant. It's 12 feet tall. It's a giant of space that has a completely different aura and, like, nuance to it. It's more of, like, again, it's going to talk to you. It's going to, like, swindle with you. It's going to have a conversation with you. It's going to want to learn about you. And it's going to want to learn about where you've been, where your magical items come from. All of these things, right? So it's one that you are going to be able to converse with.
Yeah.
So, as I mentioned, for combat, I feel like the most it's going to use its combat for is to escape or to swindle you. So, but, like, what do you think? Do you think it would be a more of a fighting character, or do you think that you would fight this if you would come across it?
No, I think naturally you would go the bard, or your most charismatic character would go in and do its swindling. It's like, I got this.
Its swindling.
The classic bard thing. I got this. And then I think probably assume that if it doesn't go well, you can just bring in brute force and, like, make it happen anyway.
Well, I feel like, as we mentioned, like, they would travel with bodyguards, right?
Yeah.
So, like, oh my god, could you imagine that this thing was traveling around
with a brog?
With a brog.
Yes!
It just has a brog standing there with both its, like its arms just on its hips.
Yeah.
Just standing behind him. Oh my goodness. And I can't even understand what you're saying, because it's just sitting there just like, what's happening? Like, I'm just here to do my job, you know what I mean? Yeah. Oh my god, that's so cute.
That would be good. That would be a good setup.
Ugh.
And I can just imagine seeing, say, if it's like in a merchant stall area and things are not going the way the party wants. Yeah. Like, you can just have the Mercane kind of like just look around the crowd a little bit, and then suddenly you just see these different, like, large monsters moving in, and, like, it doesn't signal.
The telepathy, it's like making signals.
And so it's just like giving a heads up to whatever other guards are around, or, like, that are watching out for them in all of the different merchant tents. Yeah. I want to use this.
It's really cool. And I think, like, as a good set piece, it could be that, like, you're just traveling around, and to your point, you're in, like, a merchant's thing, and they're super tall. You're going to see them from a mile away. Or it was your job to seek one out specifically because you're looking for a specific magical item, and you know that these things can have telepath powers, and would be able to find it. Even if this Mercane doesn't have it, you would find out which Mercane does have it.
Yeah.
And that's what you're swindling for. It's not necessarily the item from this specific one, but they're now going to have to swindle of, like, how do I get information out of this one?
Ooh, yes.
Yeah. I thought that'd be a really cool set piece.
Yeah, like it. And like you said, it doesn't have to be battle at all. No. You can kind of finally-ish use a giant outside of a battle scenario or potential combat. It can be when you're just going through the town looking for shit to buy. Yeah. And it can be just a quest giver, too. Because it can tell you, like, hey, like, I see that you have that magical amulet around your necklace. Do you know where that comes from? Right. Comes from this place. Did you know that if you had the second piece to that, it would do this? Do you know where that is? It's on this planet. Oh my god, Megan. And it'd be like, if you take me to that planet, or maybe it doesn't have bodyguards, it needs to travel somehow, and it's like, if you take me to that planet,
I will show you where that is.
Love it.
Like, and it'd be an excellent hook, right? Yeah. Like, I think that'd be and it would be like a side quest of, do we follow this man to find this extra magical item, or do we move on with the rest of our lives, right?
Yes.
So it doesn't have to be like your main storyline kind of character. It can definitely be like a side quest giver.
Yeah. Or even a one-shot. You could start off a one-shot where you're in a merchant's tent and then they offer that.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it.
Yeah. So cool.
All right, what do you got, Casey?
Oh boy, Megan. I can't believe where we're going today.
Tell me more. Where are we going? Where are we headed?
Oh, what is happening? Okay, so totally random.
Throw down.
Did you ever have a hamster as a pet?
I did not. My family was not hamster people.
No, not
we had,
so much.
We had cats right away.
Yeah, that wouldn't bode well.
Yeah, so.
I didn't, but my brother did.
Okay.
Had, like the 2 to 3 year mark of replacing hamsters for a while. They don't have the longest lifespan.
That's fair.
But yeah, so they're cute. Okay, so we're talking about giant space hamsters.
Okay, that's where we're going with this. I was like, where are we headed, Casey? Where are we going? Take me there.
I can't believe it. Why? Okay.
Tell me about them.
They're literally just giant hamsters.
Okay.
Like the size of a bear.
Oh my god.
Hamster.
Yeah.
And
this is what you were alluding to when you said furry rodents. Okay, it's all coming together.
You see what I did
full
there?
Circle.
Oh.
Yeah, okay, go on.
Like adorable still as a bear size.
Mm-hmm.
They tend to be recluse, but can be trained to be ridden or to carry things for you.
I want a giant hamster mount. That sounds great.
It is said that they were bred by gnomes. So picture that.
Oh my god.
And they're actually used for like powering their spelljammers, or could be used as mounts. But basically, like, go run on this wheel for 8 hours, an 8-hour shift.
As soon as you said power the spelljamming ships, I was just like, oh my god, they're running on a fucking hamster wheel.
Yes.
Oh
and
my
powering
Lanta.
ships.
Okay.
And in typical scenarios, they would be found in like the plains or the hills where they can burrow and, make homes.
We love that
for themselves.
Yeah.
But yeah, oh my god, I'm like, how is this a thing? Well, I shouldn't be surprised.
I'm not surprised at all at this point.
So giant space hamster does seem to pop up in 2nd edition, so It's not a brand new thing. But there's not really any changes in 5th edition with it.
Yeah.
They are a large beast and have no alignment. I guess that's my theme for this episode.
Unaligned? Yeah.
Unaligned. They have low AC and low HP.
I mean, they're just a fluffy little creature,
Yes.
know? Yeah.
And they will die. So don't get attached to your mount if you bring them in combat, because like any horse or any other mount,
oh my god,
they're squishy. They have a quarter challenge rating.
Okay, yeah. This is just like this is your classic mount. Yeah.
But just super cute. They don't have any high stats, like
period.
Yeah.
Okay.
They have a speed of 30 feet, and they can burrow at a speed of 10 feet.
Yeah.
So I kind of imagine these ones, if, say, suddenly you're in combat, if it can get loose from wherever it is, it's just gonna like stick its head in the dirt and start burrowing. And you're just gonna see like the butt of this giant hamster like, like,
just imagine his little nub tail just like,
yes, and it's just like, make it go away.
Oh my god.
Yeah. If all else fails, they do have a bite attack, which I feel, is a last resort. Like, it won't.
Yeah.
It will be like, I'm disappearing, and just shove its face down.
Peace out.
Or like go in a little ball and burrow in a bush or something.
Yeah.
But if they have young, or if they're threatened, they will protect and attack.
Yeah.
And they do 1d4 plus 2 piercing damage. So
okay, well,
yeah. I just cannot believe, like, there's it's there. It has stats. So
it exists.
If you want.
If someone's like, can I have a giant hamster as a mount? You'd be like, yeah, I know what book to go to. Because Casey and Megan talked about this on a giant episode for some fucking reason.
Yeah. And it is possible.
I love it. Yeah, I feel like you're right. I would not use this thing in combat.
No.
I'm also like, did you ever watch The Labyrinth? I feel like we've talked about this.
Yes, we have.
Yeah.
And yes.
And so like I'm imagining like Ambrosius and like the little dog. That's the mount. Yeah. This is what I'm picturing, but like at a larger scale. Yeah. Where it's just like a fucking scaredy cat, and as soon as like battle ensues, it's gonna knock you off and run away and burrow into a hole somewhere. And then you'd be calling Ambrosius! Ambrosius!
It's just gone.
Yeah.
You just see like,
Peace out.
Yeah. Entertaining, but don't get attached.
Yeah, it's super entertaining, but it's one of those things that you would get attached to it, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, you're gonna. As soon as you see one of these and you realize that it's, like, neutral or, like, kind to you, you're gonna be like, fuck, I love this thing. Yeah. And then us as DMs are gonna be like, I'm gonna kill this.
Yeah, it's like, if Hammy dies, we ride.
If Hammy dies, we ride. No, Hammy! Ham!
Oh, God.
Oh, my God. Yeah, from a role-playing aspect, your party is definitely going to get attached to one if they find one. 100%. And you know they're going to. Yes. So it's almost like I would put this in there.
Just for that.
Just for that. And in fact, they're going to be in a desert somewhere or like traveling across like a forest somewhere. And then they're going to be like, okay, like we need horses. And this like weird planet's going to be like, we don't have horses. We don't? What do we have? Oh, we've got these fucking hamsters over here. And you're like, what? And then your whole team is just riding these fucking hamster mounts, like, through the forest, trying to be serious as fuck, and it's just like, oh my God. It's like this planet's version of chocobos or something. Yeah.
Ugh. And it could, like, hold your backpack in its cheek. It's like,
let me stop. Stop it, Casey. I hate it. I hate it. I love it, but I hate it. Like, I just, come on.
Yeah.
Holy shit. All right, well, I think we covered a lot of really random things today.
We did.
So any final thoughts before we wrap up? What's your favorite one out of all four of these suckers?
They're all so different. They can all be thrown in so many different scenarios. I think the Braxats are like one of the coolest things.
It's one of the cooler ones in the sense where it looks like super vicious. Yeah. And very aggressive. Yeah. Like it's gonna come at you with a vengeance.
I thought it was cool.
I really love the Borg. Mm-hmm. Borog.
The Brog?
The Brog?
That's what we're doing today.
I said Borg immediately. I'm like, shit, that's from Star Trek. That's a completely different thing.
Let's just nix that.
Yeah, sorry. But no, I really like the 4 arms, I think, and the fact that they don't have an alignment and you can really kind of place them into any set piece, I think is just absolutely usable for a DM. Yeah. It's really tough to kind of like take one of these monstrosities or like one of these like evil things and then put them in your campaign in a way for your team to interact with them in a different way. And again, because they don't have a language and they just like make noises and like sign language at you. That's going to be a really interesting interaction to not piss it off. Because you're going to be like, this thing is probably going to kill me. Yeah. Right? So I love those ones.
Yeah, presents new challenges.
It absolutely does. Love it. I love it. But then again, I also love the imagery of riding a group of hamsters across the desert. Just saying. So that's all for this giant winter special episode on Braxats, Borogs, Mercanes, and hamsters, apparently. So stay tuned next week when we return to more standard Forgotten Realms lore and look at some of the more magical options in the bottom rungs of the ordning.
Thanks for listening to this special episode of It's a Mimic podcast. If you'd like to support us, we have a donate button on our website, www.itsamimic.com. And if you'd like to discuss what you've heard here today, you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and at r/itsamimic. For other episodes on other kinds of monsters, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thanks again for listening to It's a Mimic, where you never know what you're going to get. And Boo.
Boo lore.
Boo lore.
What the fuck is Boo?
Who is Boo? Boo is claimed to be a miniature giant hamster, pet and companion to Rashini Ranger Minsk.
Okay.
So, why? Why?
This is just from somebody's fucking brain, you know what I mean? This is somebody's, like, fucking fever nightmare.
Minsk insists Boo is intelligent, and thus is a miniature giant space hamster.
Of course.
So, take the small one, make it big, then make it small again, but it's not the same.
Fair. Following, yeah.
And it's important to note that Minsk convinced himself of this, that they are comrades, and that he is a miniature giant space hamster after a massive head injury.
Phenomenal.
So, yikes.
A big yike.
Yeah. So what the hell is a miniature giant space hamster, you might ask? It's a variant on the giant space hamster. What the fuck? It has been miniaturized back to the normal size of a normal hamster, said to be done by wizards. Mm-hmm. But unlike giant space hamsters, they have some intelligence and telepathy.
Telepathy? Fuck
It's coming back. So, due to their size, they're a normal hamster size. Mm. They are basically used as pets.
Yeah.
They're called a tiny monstrosity. Neutral, good. Again, no challenge, challenge rating.
Yeah.
But they have more intelligence than the giant space hamster and more dexterous.
Okay.
Tiny, wriggly, makes sense.
A little quicker on their feet, yeah.
And they have an ability called Go for the Eyes.
I like how it sounds already.
So it does have a recharge that it needs, but it's a melee attack +7 to hit, and it does 1d6 + 5 piercing damage. Target must succeed on a DC 15 dex save or be blinded until the start of the hamster's next turn.
Fuck yeah. Vicious as fuck.
Yes. It also has a bonus action ability, Escape, which it can take the dash or disengage action. So the telepathy range is 5 feet. So essentially, you acquire this pet, you can talk to it.
And it can talk to you, and that's it.
And
as soon as it falls out of your backpack, you can't hear it anymore. It's like you can't even find it. You know what I mean? You don't have Find Your Phone on your hamster because you can only do it within 5 feet.
Oh my gosh. I just cannot believe it. But yes, it's a thing. And
I love that. Well, do you think Boo is actually a miniature giant space hamster, or is he just like a hamster?
Boo in particular? No, he's just a fucking hamster.
But like he has telepathy.
To a crazy person with a head injury.
Fair enough. Actually, you're right. Correct. To a crazy person with a head injury. You are correct. It's just a hamster. It's just a hamster just talking to himself.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
What happened to us
today? We went from giants to miniature hamsters that talk to you in your sleep. That's what we went to.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, what a great time.
Yeah. Like, very clever.
Oh, I'm going to turn off that noise. I'm sorry. Wow. How professional of me. Oh God.
It's Adam sending a message.
It's 100% Adam sending a message. Just give me a second. That's Discord. Let me close Discord off this sucker. It is actually Adam. So I'm going to quit out of Discord to shut that up. Fantastic. Go away, Adam. Also, it is Adam that's editing them, so...
Oh, boy. Lucky him.
Yeah, sorry about that, good sir. All
sorry
right.
about last episode.
Cheers.